gives the British something to talk about.
And this says that we are live also today with another day for the present show. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here again with us. Lele here as usual with the Mindful Pat that is
Hello,
nice
everyone.
and comfortably sitting. And together with us, the guest of today is Carrie. Hi Carrie, Carrie Lomas.
Hi.
Glad you are in the present show. And the important thing we're going to share today is the part of the word of Carrie as such. So first question to you, Carrie. I know that you are you are an IBM executive in this case. So from your environment, so you told me that we were discussing about mindfulness, and you told me that mindfulness is particularly useful to you as a practice, so to be able to give the whole awareness for you as such, as for your work, but also for the work of people that are in your organization, but also whoever works in project or whatever task they're working. So my first question would be, how do you think mindfulness practice helps, and how does it help for you in particular?
Thanks, Lele. So I think that the risk of today, where we're bombarded with so many different streams coming at us, is that we never actually focus on one thing, or more importantly, one person. And mindfulness is a great way of getting some grounding and thinking really about being in the moment, being aware of your emotions, what's going on around you, how they impact you, and how that affects what you're doing, whether it's your performance to something that needs you to be, on your game, or whether it's just connecting with somebody so that they do feel like they are the most important thing in the world. If one of your team comes to you with a problem and you've got your phone ringing and your laptop's going bleak, and you go, oh, excuse me, I just need to answer this. Mindfulness is a really good way of actually bringing that back down and concentrating on the thing, the task, the person in front of you, and grounding you as well. We talk about grounding, and I laughed with you earlier, but I physically think that the reason the word grounding is called grounding is because you need to be in touch with what's going on around you, and there's nothing like the ground for doing that. So I shared that, I walk around barefoot. I shan't show you my feet, but if I'm walking outside, I actually like to feel the grass. I like to feel the stone. Walking around inside, unless it's cold, then I do want to know what the day's like. I've got my feet, I'm sat on bar stool in my kitchen, which you can probably see, and it's not cold because my feet are on metal. But that gives me an awareness of what's happening, what's going on around me.
So grounding as such for you means the awareness of what is around you, that is also physically the sensation, the touch, the temperature, and so on. And how this is translated then into a business more focus or awareness or effectiveness or better communication.
So for me, mindfulness starts with the physical, what's going on around me. It might be the noises. So this morning I took a walk. I didn't have a call, I think, till about 9 o'clock was my first call. My husband had done the school run. I took the time to walk the dog, and the first thing that I heard was the woodpecker. So I used that physicality and what's going on around to then take it back down to what's the thing that I'm doing. And I might be, actually the dog does need some attention. I've got a great big radiation ridgeback. Now, I could be on the telephone, and that she absolutely knows I'm taking no notice of her, and she'll run away, given a chance to chase a squirrel or whatever. So I use the premise and the premises to determine what's important at this moment. And often you've planned what's important, and it's then carrying it through by using all those physical and mental cues around you to then use that to focus. In another world, it might be that when you meditate, you use that to block out everything else. For me, mindfulness is about understanding it, so you use it to actually bring it into focus.
Mm-hmm. So you could think about it this way also, Lele, is say you're walking into a meeting room. You could ground yourself by focusing on the shoes on the floor, on the temperature in the room, on any sounds that you're hearing. But as Carrie is saying brilliantly, is to use feeling, sensation, sounds to narrow your attention to this present moment, to this meeting, to this business situation, whatever it is. It's good. I like that.
And I don't mind that people think, is that a bit hippie? I managed to sneak just inside the 60s, so I was born the end of December 1969. So I'm cool with that being slightly hippie-ish, but I think that you have to be authentic as well about it. And Pat, as you say, when I walk into a room, I will have already looked at LinkedIn if it's a client that I've not met before. I will have already done my research and my planning. Mm-hmm. But each one of those people is there for a reason. It's important to understand why they're there. And if you use those cues around you, you might understand that somebody is actually more nervous. You can look at, so there's all the usual things, the body language, where they position themselves at the table, but you can use that to actually change and influence the room. Is it a positive meeting? Is there a problem? How are we going to solve the problem? And getting stressed and upset doesn't often solve issues. It's far better to actually go in with an open mind and with a presence and a calm presence that says we can get through this, or a very positive presence that says this is important to me as well as being important to you. So I think all of those things you can do by using mindfulness as a technique, as a tool to help you in that first instance. And I was really lucky. I went on a course at Oxford, which was about leadership. It's just a 1 week course. I'd done my postgrad there. Mm-hmm. And I went back and I paid for this privately. This wasn't something funded by work. And we had Richard Olivier with us for the week, who's Laurence Olivier's son. And he uses acting and mindfulness as tools in business to truly understand, both where you are and how you can influence what's going on around you. And everyone talks about take a deep breath in, and he talks about taking a breath out. And he does the putting your feet on the floor and wiggling your toes and feeling where you are, and then using that metaphor to feel where you are in the room. Did you walk into a hostile environment? Did you walk into a room that's up for innovation and ready to go? And if not, how can you change that? What's the challenge? So I think there's a lot of what we don't realise is there's a lot of things around us that are used in other environments that can be channeled into business that become incredibly useful business tools.
So first thing would be anytime we need to give a react to a certain thing, and emotionally we shouldn't do that. We should just feel the environment, feel the emotions around, and then we can act effectively. So
and you and I have got children, and when you do your wonderful coaching with me, we've both had instances where our children have been running across the background in the evenings. And so, there's times with your kids when you have to count to 10. Now, you and I know each other well enough that we're not worried about that kind of thing. We can gently turn to our children and say, I'm working at the moment. But there are times when you may not be naturally about to do that very calmly because you might be slightly more stressed. It might be a client on Zoom. I use Zoom and I use Google Hangout with my clients. And I might be tempted to be slightly less than calm at that moment in time, but it does do you no good. So just that, we talk about counting to 10, but really that's a mindfulness tool in its simplest form of just bringing you back down to what's important and not reacting, thinking about the moment, thinking about actually what's appropriate for the situation.
And another important thing is that this kind of awareness makes you, as we discussed in some present shows ago, was about a better communicator, right? So one thing I saw in the approach you have, right? So is that you don't add this usual executive layer in front of you when you talk to people. So not only via Zoom, but also physically, not only via communication, but also when you meet people around. And this, I think, is much more productive because you then become accessible, and by becoming accessible, you can do more and better things around. So what do you think around that? And any also from Mindful Pat, if you have any consideration around this area.
So Pat, do you want to go first?
It reminds me of like a story I heard recently about there was somebody from like the State Department or something in America that when he would present at this conference, every time he went to it, they would organize the taxi for him, the hotel, they check him in, they pick him up, they give him coffee. And his candidacy ended, and he was just a normal person. And he showed up at the conference, and he had a Styrofoam cup. And he said, this cup has taught me an important lesson, that we're all the same. Because this year, I had to take the taxi myself. I had to check in myself. I had to come here by myself. I didn't get a nice ceramic mug. All I got was the Styrofoam cup. And he connected very well to those people. So underneath all the labels and titles and things that we have, I mean, we're all human, right? And we're all interconnected in this ever expanding galaxy, or whatever you might call it. And that's what really connects to people, is that inside, not what's on the outside. And I think Carrie does a great job at connecting with people underneath all that.
Thank you, Pat. So for me, part of it is I was brought up to respect everybody, not for their position in life and not for what it is that they're great at. Mm-hmm. If you look at the Buddhist belief, and if you go to somewhere like Thailand, it's one of the countries where you get very beautiful teak houses next to very poor houses, and they don't resent it one way or the other. And they believe that it's just the other man's luck, the other person's luck, that's the position they're in. But there's no judgment going on about that. Now, we can't help it. Most of us judge things on a minute-by-minute, day-by-day basis. But what we can help is how we react to that. So the most important person may be the person that you have no idea. And I have two hilarious examples. When I went for an interview at the company I ended up working for as a graduate, I was taken to someone's leaving do, hilarious interview. And it was down a pub, in England we have with pubs. And this guy kept trying to talk to me, and I hadn't been introduced to him. I didn't know who he was. And at the time, this is back in the early 90s, he was smoking. And I'd borrowed one of my close friend's suits for my second interview. And so I was desperate not to engage with this guy because I was going to have to have this suit dry cleaned because he was smoking. So I was trying very hard to kind of keep him at a distance. And I was very polite because I was, again, you should always be polite to everybody, even people that aren't being polite to you. But I was very mindful that I had kind of two different dynamics going on in situations for me to manage. So I engaged with him, we talked a little bit, and then, I was the group that I'd been brought in for interview with were talking to me. And I got the job, and in my first week, I was in the canteen and someone said, "Oh, you need to meet the Vice President." And this was the Vice President of the whole of Europe, Middle East and Africa. There was one VP at the top of the whole group. And it was a big company, a couple of 100,000, 100,000 people. And they said, "Hi, this is," and it was the Vice President. Now, he was actually really impressed that I hadn't treated him any differently because he was the Vice President. And that first day in the office, when I went in, my father said to me, remember when you walk in, that receptionist is one of the most connected people in the business and the most important people to you. She will tell you who's in the building, who's out the building, what kind of mood they're in when you go in for that meeting. And there's an element that you mustn't take, which is, how do I use this person? It's mutuality of what you can give to each other. And probably one of my proudest moments was when I left the company after 24 years. I stayed there for 24 years. I had well over time before I joined IBM. Was my leaving do. The receptionist actually came to my leaving do, as well as some very senior managers, as well as people that worked with me or for me in my organisation. And that to me was hugely important, that it's not about, I don't care how many levels of people up send me messages. I care about the relationship I have with that person and the relationship I have in a 360 environment. So I think there's a lot of lessons that you can learn just by thinking, we also treat people how you want to be treated, but being really mindful about, am I doing that? Am I being authentic? And the person that's come to talk to you, doesn't matter what your position in the company is. There's some great stories around, can I talk to you? Yes, I will be free at 10:30. Not, I'm too busy, I'm sorry. Talk to my secretary, my admin assistant. But find the time, genuinely think about that person. particularly the more senior you are, somebody would have taken a lot potentially to come and talk to you. A lot of people are worried about hierarchy. So if somebody more junior has taken the time to find you, it's probably really important to them that you find the time to talk to them, because that thing's really important to them.
Pat, any little tip or recommendation how to, be more open to the others, or what kind of practice we could follow?
2 tips. Before you greet somebody, say in your mind, "I love you" to them. And you'll notice that, not out loud, but say that, I walk into a room and I just like in my mind say, "I love you," right? Already you start to smile and you feel better. And another tip is that imagine if this person that you're interacting with, it's their last day on earth, that that they're going to die today, and you can't tell them. How would that interaction be with that person? It'd be very deep. You'd have a lot of focus and presence with that person. So love, and imagine that they're going to leave soon.
And Pat, I think one of the times that's even more important is when there might already be friction or frustration in that situation. And I was coaching somebody on this recently and said, it's really hard to do, but if you can walk into that room as if you're going to meet your best friend that you haven't seen for a long time, and you're really excited about meeting them, you'll treat them differently. And if you dread it, and if you don't want to go in there, or you're cross with them, or you're thinking, oh, how's this going to turn out? That is what will happen. If you believe it will happen, it will happen. But if you go in there thinking, great, we can sort this problem out, because nothing is insurmountable, then that's how it will be. And that thinking about that meeting and being as happy going into that meeting, and I don't mean blasé, and I don't mean not taking it seriously, I mean genuinely connecting and thinking, this person also wants a good outcome, and being mindful of them and their situation and how you present yourself when you come in, I think is hugely important.
Including this meeting is virtual, and it's not only physical being there with somebody, but even if you meet them on whatever virtual tool, video communication or phone, you use the same kind of guidelines, please. It's time for our mindful minute. So Carrie or Pat, who has the mindful minute for us? Of course that we need to be barefoot, so let me take out my shoes as well for our mindful minute.
Mine are already off.
Okay. And
Carrie, maybe you have some short minute grounding technique you could show us that you've learned?
So I sit with my fingers laced together because I actually prefer that. Some people put their hands on their knees. That can feel slightly less grounding for some, because it may not be a position you're used to sitting in, and I happily lace my fingers. Relax your shoulders. Just think about your posture, put your back straight, and think about where your feet are. Think about what your feet are connected with. Think about how each of your toes feels. You can't see, but I'm just thinking about my hands, my fingers, thinking about what's around me, and actually it's silence. So the dog's not snoring, and relaxing into that moment as you connect.
Very nice.
Everybody barefoot from today in the office. Don't worry, there are no companies that have this as the dress code. Usually you see above, so you can try. But this is a very good tips. Thank you a lot, Carrie. Thank you a lot for being here with us with the present show. Thank you as usual to Mindful Pat.
Thanks.
Pat, I leave the last word to you as usual. Bye everybody, and see you next week. And one final information, remember that present show is also on iTunes, so you can actually search for us on iTunes podcast, and every time there is a new The Present Show, you will actually see a new episode that is popping out, so you can listen to us in the car or whatever else you want.
Final words for me is just stay grounded and respectful and open to all. Thanks.
You're never too high up to die.